talking about just a general overview of SNAP and then get into her guide a little bit more. But before we get started on that, I just want to take this time to remind everyone about the Pantry, which is our Google website, and it's actually a private site that we use to store all of our resources for our campus kitchens. You need access to it since it is a private site, but you can request access through your email, and I monitor that basically every day, so I make sure to add people when they request access right away. And I'm just going to do a quick little tour of the pantry. To show everyone. So hopefully you guys can now see the pantry, and just really quickly I'm going to be going over what we have here. So this is just the homepage of the pantry. If you go to the CKP overview and events calendar, this is where you can find like major dates like our summit or boot camp, Turkey Palooza, different things like that. Operations is going to be basically about everything you need in the kitchen. So we have a ton of forms on here, a lot of HACCP forms, and you can, scroll through. If you ever need a form, you need to print a form, anything like that, you can find that all here. We also have a lot of information on volunteers and leadership teams. So you can click through and see different examples of leadership teams, different forms for volunteers, stuff like that. And then we have programming, which is a lot of our Beyond the Meal programs. So here you can see SNAP, and I'm going to get to that last. But these are, so like Turkey Palooza is a program that CKP does, and these other programs are things that we just a lot of campus kitchens work on, like youth programming. So I'm just clicked on garden-based nutrition education. So sowing seeds is a curriculum that CKP designed, so that's up here. It has a ton of like great recipes. So I definitely encourage like everyone to explore the pantry because there's so much great stuff. And then also this tab webinars is where we keep all of the webinars, like the one we're doing right now, where we can we keep a recording of them and where our students can come to then listen to that recording and find basically everything we've done since I think 2013. So that's all here. And it's just a link to YouTube. And then communications is where you can find some info on social media. So we have links to all of the different Campus Kitchen accounts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and our branding guidelines. And then we have financials and reporting. So we have info about grants here, CKP grants and external grants that we offer. So back to programming. If you go to SNAP, this is where you can find a lot of general information about SNAP, and where you can also find Erin's new guide, which is under CKP resources guides. And I'm just going to kind of scroll, like there's tons of information. We have tools for eating healthy on a budget, different partner outreach. We have a guide to SNAP outreach programming, which is super awesome. I know Erin's going to talk about that a little bit. So I definitely encourage you, specific to SNAP, to explore this part of the pantry and see what kind of resources are available and what your campus kitchen could use. And just a reminder, the pantry is just a really great place and has so many good resources, so I just wanted to quickly go over it before we get started, because that's where we put things like this guide that Erin created, we put it on the pantry. So whenever new stuff comes out like that, we always direct you to the pantry. So Erin, if you're ready, I'm going to unmute you, and you can go ahead and start.
All right. Hi. Let me see. As Tyler mentioned, my name's Erin. I'm the AmeriCorps Vista at the CKP National Office in DC. Thanks for being here on the call, and thanks to Tyler for having me. I'm really excited to share this new resource with everyone. Just want to make sure, can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay.
You might just want to put your, yeah, there we go.
There we
Perfect.
Go. Cool. So first I want to talk a little bit about SNAP, just to give a general overview. So what is SNAP? SNAP is the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It was formerly called the Food Stamp Program, and it's taken various forms since it was first created in the 1930s. SNAP was renamed to SNAP in 2008. It is the largest food assistance program run by the USDA, and it provides support for Americans who are struggling to put food on the table. So the goal of SNAP, as defined by the Food Stamp Act of 1977, is to alleviate hunger and malnutrition by increasing food purchasing power for all eligible households who apply for participation. SNAP is administered on a state-by-state basis, so while it's a federal program, most of the administrative day-to-day application and processing goes to the individual states. So SNAP is really important because it provides short-term hunger relief to those who are able to receive assistance on the program, but it also is really important in solving poverty on a long-term scale because it frees up resources for things like housing and heating, which fosters economic stability, and it empowers long-term health and eventually poverty solutions. So it's a really great program in that sense. Just a few bullet point benefits. SNAP helps individuals and families to afford enough nutritious food to lead healthy lives. It can also qualify households for additional benefit programs in some states. SNAP helps to enroll eligible children in free or reduced lunch meal programs, and it generates economic activity by freeing up resources for other things. So if people are able to supplement the money they spend on food, then they can spend it on other necessary items. SNAP is reauthorized by Congress every 5 years as part of the Farm Bill. So every 5 years, it's kind of redetermined who is eligible to receive SNAP benefits, or formerly food stamps. And also the program access and benefit levels are all reevaluated. Currently, over 40 million Americans are enrolled in SNAP, which is a really good number, but 3 out of every 10 people who could get benefits don't. So clearly there's a lot of room for improvement, and a lot of people who could be on this program aren't on it. So reasons for this: stigma, misinformation, and complicated bureaucratic processes. The low enrollment rate is especially high amongst older adults, working individuals, and eligible non-citizens. So how can Campus Kitchens help enroll more people in SNAP and get out this message? First of all, Campus Kitchens can spread awareness about SNAP, just the fact that it exists. Campus Kitchens have already done a lot of work with outreach, and as Tyler mentioned earlier, there's an outreach guide, a SNAP outreach guide on the Pantry. It has a lot of really great tips. Campus Kitchens can also provide information about the actual application process to clients, and volunteers can help connect interested individuals with organizations that conduct pre-screenings and provide application assistance for SNAP. So I just wanted to also go over a few helpful terms. SNAP is kind of, well, like many bureaucratic institutions or just processes, there are a lot of acronyms. So it might be helpful to kind of go over a few of these terms. EBT is electronic benefits transfer. And basically what that is SNAP has now been put onto a credit card type device. So it allows SNAP recipients to just swipe their card, much like a credit or debit card, rather than using food stamps, which were paper vouchers. The NAFMNP is the National Association of Farmers Market Nutrition Programs. And it basically links organizations with USDA nutrition programs. FMC is the Farmers Market Coalition. They do a lot of work with outreach and advocacy, resource development, networking. They do a lot of grant work with SNAP and things of that sort. So they're a really, really good resource. When I was writing my guide, I went to their website. They have some really wonderful articles and links out to other organizations, so I highly recommend looking them up. The USDA, as many of you probably know, is the United States Department of Agriculture, and the USDA administers the SNAP program. The FNS, the Food and Nutrition Service, is a USDA agency that administers many different federal nutrition services, one of which is SNAP, and SNAP, as I mentioned earlier, is the largest of these services. A POS machine, which I will bring up again later, is a point of sale machine, and that's what allows EBT cards to be processed at places like farmers markets. Scrip is currency, or like a token or voucher that's often given out at a farmer's market. Once you swipe your EBT card at a POS machine, it kind of acts as the currency in a physical form that was once on your EBT card. And I'll talk a bit more about these two later, but WIC FMNP is a farmers market incentive program that allows WIC vouchers to be used at markets. And the SFMNP is the Senior Farmers Market Nutrition Program. And that's very similar. It allows vouchers that are given to low-income seniors to be used at markets. So, as I mentioned earlier, campus kitchens are doing some really great work with outreach on SNAP. And outreach on SNAP generally has been proved to expand awareness. It's been proven to make a really big difference. So it's very important to do. There are a lot of resources on the Pantry. There's the Guide to SNAP Outreach, which has information that ranges from topics such as how to research state SNAP guidelines, how to recruit volunteers, how to connect with partner organizations, and how to develop outreach materials and templates. There are also specific template materials on SNAP Outreach on that same section of the Pantry. Along with those, there's some links to helpful outside resources. So I would definitely check those out and explore that page. There are great SNAP outreach resources on the USDA website, and there are a few links to those, I believe, on the Pantry. Also in my guide, which is the next bullet point, I do have some ideas and resources included, and I have many of those USDA SNAP outreach resources mentioned in my guide. There's a specific outreach section as well. So to get into my guide a little bit more, I first want to introduce the concept of using SNAP at farmers markets. So the idea that SNAP benefits can be used at farmers markets is a fairly new, it's fairly new. So as of June 2016, there were over 3,400 farmers markets nationwide that were authorized to accept SNAP benefits. And that's really great because Americans from all income classes underconsume fruits and vegetables, and it's especially hard for people living in poverty to obtain enough nutrition, enough fruits and vegetables, because these products, especially fresh fruits and vegetables, often cost higher and are harder to access. So in order to attract and accommodate more SNAP customers at farmers markets, it's a great program to have this acceptance of SNAP. Not only does it allow SNAP clients to improve their health and access healthy produce, but it has a really positive effect on the community as a whole. By attracting more clients to the markets, the vendors are able to profit more because they'll have more customers. It also boosts the local economy and the local food system by making the market stronger. So a basic overview of how SNAP works at farmers markets. I mentioned a lot of these acronym terms just a bit ago. So this is where they come into play. First, if you come to the farmers market and you're a SNAP client, you'll go to a central booth where you swipe your EBT card at a central POS machine. So that swipe then gets converted into tokens or vouchers such as scrip in exchange for that money that you swiped from your EBT card. These booths are often the same booths where credit cards or debit cards are transacted. So if you've ever been to the farmer's market and you don't have cash, I know this has happened to me. I've had to go to a booth and I tell them how much money I want and I'll swipe my card and then they'll give me some tokens in exchange. So it's the exact same process for SNAP users. And many markets do have this all take place in one tent using the same POS machine because it does a lot to eliminate stigma if everyone's going to the same place. So it's also possible for individual farmers or vendors to have their own POS machine, but it really does complicate this process a lot, so many markets choose to just have one central booth. In addition to just accepting SNAP at markets, a lot of states and individual markets are creating incentive programs to attract even more SNAP clients. So basically, these incentive programs just offer additional motivation for SNAP clients to come and shop at their markets. These programs will match the amount of federal nutrition assistance that a customer provides, so that effectively doubles the purchasing power of a customer at the market. So for example, if you come to the market with wanting to spend $10 of SNAP benefits, you'll go to the central booth and you'll tell whoever is working there, I have $10 that I'd like to spend on my EBT card, and you'll swipe it, and then they will match that $10 with another $10. So you'll effectively come with $10 to spend at the market and have 20. These programs are funded by public aid, they're funded by grants, private funds, and fundraising. So a lot of markets will have their own incentive funds, or there will be Friends of Market programs that will raise money to fund these incentive programs. So that takes me to the actual guide. What is this guide? Since there's such enormous potential to continue to expand these SNAP and SNAP-based incentive programs at farmers markets, campus kitchens can play a really important role in jumpstarting that process in their communities. So this guide is a resource for campus kitchens that want to get involved with their local farmers markets when it comes to SNAP acceptance and incentive programs. The guide gives a little bit of background information on SNAP and the process of using SNAP at farmers markets. And it's also a step-by-step tool for enacting this SNAP acceptance for starting matching programs, as well as engaging in additional outreach and programming at those markets. So to go along with this guide, I also created a page summary that you can see here. It's a bit hard to read here, but basically this lists out the major steps in flowchart form that I explain in more detail in the guide. It's a nice reference if you're looking for a general outline of the process, and then you can see the steps and follow up in the full-length form of the guide for more detail. The way that I structured the guide to work is ideally so that it is helpful for everyone regardless of the size or current programming of the market that they're working with. So I start, as you can see, barely with a getting started point for everybody. And what that involves is really doing an assessment of the market in their community to first establish contact with the market coordinator, as well as to get an idea of what you're working with, what kind of volunteer system is in place at the market, what resources the market has, what structure, things like that. So then once you've done that assessment, I divided markets kind of into 3 different stages. One, either the market does not accept SNAP. That's stage 1. Stage 2 is the market accepts SNAP because it does not have an incentive program in place. And stage 3 is that the market accepts SNAP and has an incentive program. So once you've figured out which stage the market you're working with is in, you can then move on and figure out the next steps to try to improve your market when it comes to accepting SNAP. So for stage, I can just take you through the stages a bit. For stage 1, I talk a lot about in the guide how to apply to become a SNAP retailer, how to acquire necessary equipment, and there's also a lot of information on budgeting and funding, and also how to accept other forms of assistance that I mentioned earlier, like the WIC and Senior Nutrition Program benefits. In the guide for stage 2, there's information about establishing a matching program. That includes branding, funding, and the logistics of implementing a program. For example, to have a matching program, farmers markets need different tokens than the regular EBT tokens. There needs to be a way to distinguish between those matching tokens and the SNAP tokens. So there's some nuances that aren't necessarily intuitive that are addressed in the guide. And stage 3 provides information on how to bolster the established programs at the market through outreach, event planning, and other activities. So there's a lot of resources and ideas there, and there's also some information on volunteer recruitment. In addition to kind of outlining the steps in each of these stages, the guide provides some general information on establishing sustainability. At each stage, there's tips on proper training, on education and partnership building. There's also some ideas on how to address policy changes. So there's some advocacy information if you're looking to do even more. Some ideas, I can just give you a general overview. One of them is to revise the one site, one permit, one machine policy. Basically what that policy is right now each organization, right now each farmer's market is required to have their own POS machine. But in some cases, one organization runs multiple farmers markets that often take place on different days. So one organization may run 5 different markets in the same city. But each of those markets needs their own machine, and often those machines are expensive and you need a different contract to run the service processing for each of those machines. So the idea of revising the one site, one permit, one machine policy is so that organizations each can have one machine. So rather than every market having a different one, the organization only needs one that they can bring to each different market. Another idea for advocacy is to assist state associations and advocating for state legislation that supports SNAP acceptance and incentive programs. So, for example, some cities like Los Angeles have ordinances requiring that all markets accept SNAP. So if you can advocate for such a policy in your city, that's a great way to start. And also in the guide, there is an appendix with some templates as well as other resources that can be used when you're working specifically with your market. You can take these and use them, change them slightly to fit your use in your community. And yeah, as Tyler mentioned, this guide is up on the Pantry as of about 2 weeks ago. So I'm really hoping that it'll be a useful tool for everyone. Oh, I forgot that slide. So if anybody has any questions, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Thanks, Erin. Here, I'm going to unmute everyone. Does anyone have any questions?
I do. This is Stacy from the Campus Kitchen at Bevel State. I have one question. Erin, because our farmers market already accepts SNAP, so is that guide that you refer to on the Pantry?
Yes, it is.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's on the SNAP tab. There's, I think, right, that page that Tyler brought up earlier, it's right in there. It's called
so it's under programming. So if you're just on the main page and there's a tab called programming, if you hit programming, there's like a link to SNAP. So it just says SNAP in all capitals, and just click on that and it's right at the very top.
Okay.
And it's a guide to working with farmers markets. It's a PDF.
Okay.
and then also that one-page outline is on the same section of the pantry. It's just a little bit further down on the page. It's called, it's under the same name, but I think summary is in there somewhere.
Okay.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I have a question. So I'm Natalie. I'm relatively new here. I've been at Campus Kitchens at Marquette for about a month. And every Wednesday we pick up at a farmer's market. But basically that just has entailed me going to the same vendors and picking up. So I don't know our main contacts at the farmer's market. So my question, I guess, is what is Campus Kitchen's usual relationship with the farmer's market and the people in charge? Like how involved do we get with this, is my question.
I think it really varies from campus to campus. For example, some campus kitchens have started their own farmers market. I know that CK Northwestern has a really strong relationship with their farmers markets, and they go and they table there every week, and they also help plan events with the market coordinators. So I think that relationship can be what you want to make of it. It depends how involved you want to get with the farmers market, and it also depends on, you know, how the market coordinators are running their market and how much they want to reach out. So I don't think there's necessarily like a set line of involvement that is set.
Yeah, and I just want to add on that, Natalie. The Campus Kitchen at Kent is also, they have a really strong relationship with their farmers market, and they do a lot of recovery from their farmers market and work with the farmers a lot directly. So that's like another route you could go, and kind of, because I'm sure that they would have a contact of someone else if you want to like kind of like work your way up to the top, I guess, and figure out who best to communicate with. But kind of just to echo what Erin said, it's really up to your campus kitchen and how involved you want to be. It is definitely a really great place to like connect with people in the community and to let people know what your campus kitchen does. So even from the standpoint of trying to get volunteers, like that's a great place to bring like, you know, like an annual report, some stickers and some postcards, and let people know like what your campus kitchen does in the community. And then I'm sure there would be opportunities for more kind of like beyond the meal programming. And if you want, like off this webinar, we can definitely put you in touch with some other campus kitchens and you can see what they've done too.
Okay, that sounds good. And yeah, we have, well, we should be having a Vista coming in November that will be working a lot with this SNAP, and she actually knows, has a lot of contacts with the farmers market, so it looks like hopefully she'll be a good addition to the team for that. Thank you.
Good, awesome. Erin, I have one question. I don't know if you would know the answer to this, but I was just thinking like what to do if a farmer market doesn't have, if they don't have anything set up so that they can receive SNAP, and how people might go about like getting that set up, if it's kind of like a easy process or how that would work.
Yeah, so that's kind of like the stage one, and the guide is for markets that don't have any SNAP acceptance program in place. Is that kind of what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Like starting from scratch? Yeah, so there is a process, but the USDA fortunately makes it pretty easy. So relatively. The first step is that you need to become a SNAP retailer. And that application is online. This is laid out in the guide. So you apply to become a SNAP retailer, and once that's accepted, you have to go through a SNAP retailer training process. And then after that, you're able to accept SNAP once you have the equipment set in place. So that means that you need a POS machine to be able to process the transactions. And involved with that is to process the transactions, you need a service provider. And then you also need market currency. So those are the main steps that need to be taken to get a SNAP program in place. And then after that is, of course, outreach and marketing, just to let people know that the program exists at your market and to attract others.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, are there any more questions? If not, Erin, thank you so much for presenting. This was so helpful, and like Erin said, this guide is up on the Pantry, so if you just are on the home page and you click on programming and then click on SNAP, the guide is the first link, so it's the first PDF, and it's under number 1, the CKP resource guides. So I definitely recommend everyone checks it out. And again, thank you, Erin, and I hope everyone has a great rest of their day. Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.